way are assisting Mr. Simpson in avoiding justice. Mr. Simpson is a fugitive of justice right now. And if you assist him in any way, you are committing a felony. Think about it. And I'll guarantee you that if there is evidence establishing that you've assisted Mr. Simpson in any way to avoid his arrest, you will be prosecuted as a felon. Now, you can tell that I'm a little upset, and I am upset. This is a very serious case. Many of us perhaps had empathy to some extent. We saw perhaps the falling of an American hero. To some extent, I viewed Mr. Simpson in the same way. But let's remember, we have two innocent people who have been brutally killed. We have their families who are still with us today, who are going to suffer for the rest of their lives, including the children of the Simpsons. It's a serious case. We will continue to treat it seriously. We will be working closely with the Los Angeles Police Department. I want to go out of my way to congratulate the Los Angeles Police Department in the outstanding professional investigation that led to the filing of these criminal charges. Phil Van Adder and Tom Lang are absolutely top-flight investigators, and they've done a superb job. We will find Mr. Simpson, and we are going to bring him to justice. If you have any questions, I will attempt to address them, but it's going to be difficult.
Who is primarily responsible for Mr. Simpson having disappeared?
Don't blame anyone. I mean, look at how many people are here today. How many members of the media have been surrounding Mr. Simpson's house, and he was able to get away somehow. I understand that. What I'm trying to do is I don't want to put blame on anyone. Mr. Simpson, we were prepared to arrest Mr. Simpson after the scientific evidence had come back, and we were satisfied we now have sufficient evidence to go forward.
Which was
let me finish.
That's the Los Angeles District Attorney commenting on the fact that OJ Simpson is now a fugitive from justice. He did not turn himself into police, as previously agreed earlier today. The Los Angeles police are now searching for him. Simpson has been charged with 2 counts of murder, with 2 counts, that is, for the murder of his ex-wife and her male friend. Police say the charges against Simpson include a special circumstance allegation. What that means is that he could face life in prison or the death penalty. Just over an hour ago, the police in Los Angeles held a rather extraordinary news conference. What they did there is announce the charges against Simpson, but then Commander David Gascon of the LAPD revealed they have no idea where he is.
Detectives from the Los Angeles Police Department, after an exhaustive investigation, which included interviews of dozens of witnesses, and a thorough examination and analysis of the physical evidence, both here and in Chicago, sought and obtained a warrant for the arrest of OJ Simpson, charging him with the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Lyle Goldman. Mr. Simpson, in agreement with his attorney, was scheduled to surrender this morning to the Los Angeles Police Department. Initially, that was 11 o'clock. It then became 11:45. Mr. Simpson has not appeared. The Los Angeles Police Department right now is actively searching for Mr. Simpson. We will continue our pursuit of Mr. Simpson and hope to have him in custody soon. This matter will now enter the prosecutorial stage, where it'll be overseen by a team of extremely talented prosecutors.
That was Commander David Gascon of the Los Angeles Police Department. The O.J. Simpson story is still developing at this hour. For the latest now on what's happening, let's go live to John Gibson in L.A. John, what is happening right now?
Well, they're searching for OJ Simpson. As you heard Commander Gascon say, they're very angry. He was supposed to show up and he did not. We believe that OJ left his house this morning in the company of his attorney, Robert Shapiro, who was going to bring him here. Something happened in between, and OJ did not appear down here at police headquarters. Now, in addition, a 911 call has been received from Nicole Simpson's Brentwood condominium. Police have converged on that scene in Brentwood. A homicide unit has responded, as well as a group from the LAPD press office. We're going to find out shortly what is going on there. There's nothing confirmed other than a 911 call from Nicole Simpson's Brentwood condominium. Meanwhile, the overarching story is that OJ Simpson not only charged with the murders, not only facing the death penalty, but is now a fugitive from the law.
Was he last seen, John? Do we know that?
Well, we believe that he was last seen this morning leaving his Brentwood mansion in the black Mercedes owned by Robert Shapiro, his attorney. We believe that's when he was last seen.
Has anybody talked to Shapiro lately to find out what happened between the time they left and the time OJ disappeared?
Well, if you listen to that news conference from Commander Gascon, I think you can assume the police have been talking to Shapiro and talking to him a lot. But I have not heard what Shapiro has said, and I can only assume that since he is one of LA's most prominent and respected attorneys, he is in constant touch with the police.
It's hard to, as we watch, we see this horde of media around the house and around all of the people involved in this. It's hard to imagine how he could elude that sort of scrutiny, John.
Well, if you listen to what Gascon said, it was sort of a veiled threat, but he did say the LAPD was very angry at certain parties, and he didn't name them, who evidently interfered with OJ's coming to police headquarters. Somebody got in the middle of this and helped OJ, or took OJ while he was on his way here. We don't know what the circumstances are, but the police said they will actively investigate that as an obstruction of justice.
So we wait to hear more about that and about other things still developing in this case. John Gibson, thank you very much.
There are a few in America who don't know the name OJ Simpson, and it is reasonable to assume that most of them have an opinion or two about this case. Pat Collins today went out to gauge the mood of the public. Pat?
We're live here at 10 Lee Circle, people talking about the OJ Simpson story. Let's go right to some opinion. What do you make of this thing?
I tell you, it's one of the most bizarre things that I've ever heard of. But I guess in time, the truth will let us know what really went on.
As a fan of OJ Simpson, has your opinion changed of him as a result of it?
No, it has not. I do not want to say that he's guilty until it's absolutely been proven. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, he's innocent until proven guilty.
What about you?
I'm just completely shocked that a man of this stature and representative of this country the way he is. I'm really shocked that this man could do that.
And you, sir?
I hope it draws attention to the spousal abuse problem we have in this country. That's my hope.
I pray for him, and I hope that he turns himself in. We all would like to hear his side of the story.
I just hope he can run as fast now as he used to be able to.
Well, it's a shame America had to lose another role model.
Of course, because we didn't have any eyewitnesses. If you, in any case,
so there were no other pieces.
If you have sufficient evidence, absent scientific evidence, we do it all the time. You go out and arrest. In this case, it was, quote, first a whodunit, right? Mm-hmm. We needed that evidence before you go out and make an arrest.
You needed the results of the test on the evidence.
Who has an answer? You have.
Did you have reason to not believe Mr. Simpson would be a flight risk?
I'm not saying that he wouldn't be a flight risk. I mean, it's going to be, I'm very confident we're going to find OJ Simpson, because this is a man who can't hide too easily. I mean, his face is well known to millions of people throughout the world. I'm sorry?
What if he would cause, I mean, I was told that one of the reasons why you arrest someone as soon as possible is not just so they don't get away, or not just so they don't hurt other people, but that they don't hurt themselves.
If we do not have sufficient evidence to make an arrest or to issue the warrant for the arrest, we're not going to do it. If we do not in the district attorney's office have sufficient evidence warranting a criminal complaint, we're not going to do it. Once we had that information, we moved as quickly as we could.
Mr. Garcetti,
Just a minute. Who hasn't asked? Yes, sir.
Had O.J. Simpson ever been told that he was not free to go anywhere? And if he was told that he was not free or that he should not leave, when was that?
I can't answer that question. I don't know if LAPD told him that.
Under what circumstances might one tell somebody?
Pardon me?
After questioning somebody as a witness, would one normally do that? At what point might one tell somebody that?
I don't think there's any normal course.
You're saying it might not have been told as of last night, this morning?
I can't answer that. I believe that Mr. Shapiro has his passport in hand, so it'd be difficult for him to leave the country. But I'm not sure what Mr. Shapiro told him, if anything.
Could you answer?
Just a minute, let me get someone else.
Stay with us.
Yeah, that's pure speculation on my part. I certainly don't have any information that he's dead, that he's deceased at this point.
Mr. Garcetti.
I'm sorry?
Are the DNA tests that you were doing, are they complete now?
No, DNA is going to take several weeks.
I mean, clearly.
Many weeks. One at a time.
You're going to be asking for no bail in the event you do find him, presumably in large part because you think he's a flight risk based on the charges that have been filed. Given that he knew those charges and those charges were about to be filed, why wasn't there some kind of a full court press surveillance, at least from the time of the funeral to the present?
I can't answer that question.
Should there have been?
I'm not going to be critical of the Los Angeles Police Department.
Why not?
They did an outstanding job in this investigation.
Mr. Garcetti, but the question so many
You had a
people...
question.
Go. All right, I'm standing outside this house in the West Los Angeles Brentwood area where police were called to the scene apparently from a 911 call, and we need to make one thing perfectly clear. I just returned from the front gate area talking to the supervising officer on scene, and he has told me that O.J. Simpson is not inside, despite what people are running around saying O.J. Simpson is not here. He told me that this is probably, with a murder suspect on the loose, believed to be somewhere in Los Angeles, this is probably the first of several alleged sightings of the person who was on the loose. So once again, O.J. Simpson not here, apparently an incident that all began with a 911 call from the father of Nicole Simpson.
Anyone who might have. I'm sorry, Andrea, you asked a question.
Custody last night when you had the evidence you needed in hand, could you not have taken him into custody for the 48 hours or the 72 hours that the law allowed you to hold someone during an investigation?
Yes, if you knew where he was.
Mr. Garcetti, so are you saying that it was there was a responsibility of the LAPD to make the arrangements to deliver him to your doorstep?
LAPD is in charge of the investigation. LAPD would be in charge of the arrest and everything that involves the arrest.
Okay, but working in conjunction with your office. So the question so many people are asking, and perhaps this needs to be addressed to the LAPD, and it already has, is how can this possibly happen? The entire world is focused on this man. Is there any way to answer that?
I can't.
I mean, surely you're wondering that yourself.
Aren't we all?
Well, I mean, you're in a position to give us some insight, though. I mean, Harvey's question was surveillance.
Thanks.
I mean,
I can answer some questions, Phil, but not, not all of them.
Do you know if
Give
the LAPD waited for him last night, or if there was any indication either to Mr. Shapiro or to him or to anyone in his camp that an arrest was pending?
I think Mr. Shapiro voiced real surprise, if I recall correctly, when he was informed today that there would be a complaint issued against his client.
What was the
Yes,
time
sir.
and place he was placed in the valley? These people that you talked to.
Yes.
What time was it? And where was it?
I don't know from what period of time, but certainly I believe it was like late morning at the latest or early afternoon. In fact, it had to be earlier because originally O.J. was supposed to surrender at 11 o'clock. That means he should have been on the road by 10:30.
What in the event he did flee? Gil, in the event
have you established the whereabouts
Yes.
of O.J. Simpson?
Yes.
Gil, in the event he did flee, will that weigh in your decision as to whether to seek the death penalty?
No, not seek. No, I can't say that that would be a factor in the death penalty part. It can be used in the guilt phase, though. There is a jury instruction that permits the trier of fact to take into consideration the fact that you fled.
As a consciousness of guilt?
Correct.
Can you comment on OJ's alibi the night of the crime?
Obviously, we didn't buy onto it.
Are you going to
Can you comment what do you think he was doing?
What do we think he was doing?
Can you talk us through a little bit of the crime
No,
that night?
no, I can't do that.
For this to become a special circumstance case where he faces either death or life in prison, you would have to get at least one count of first-degree premeditated murder.
Correct.
So in other words, you would have to allege in court that he acted with premeditation and had planned in advance the killing of at least one of the victims.
We will be treating this case as a first-degree murder case with special circumstances.
Are you putting out a warrant for the arrest of this other fellow that OJ was seen with on the basis that he could help you find him?
We need more information before we can do that. Let me just add, I don't know. He was in a house, I believe. At the appropriate time, and perhaps today is not the appropriate time, we must talk about domestic violence. I mean, for 18 months as district attorney, I've been talking about domestic violence and about the need to do something early on in domestic violence to protect not just the victim, like Miss Simpson, but others too, the children and others. This, unfortunately, is the result of the criminal justice system not doing the job that it must do in domestic violence.
Gil, it's been pointed out the entire world is watching you at the moment. Do you feel embarrassed that all this is happening? That there's been such a massive cock up here?
Well, I hope my son isn't watching overseas right now, but no, I'm not. I'm angry. I'm not embarrassed.
Angry at who beyond OJ Simpson?
I'm angry at OJ Simpson.
Does the fault lie with any of the officials?
No, I'm not going to point fingers at any of the officials. The LAPD has been busting their butt, really doing a fine job in terms of this investigation. Unfortunately, we did not have enough evidence early on to have made the arrest until we did. But it's the way it is. It's a circumstantial evidence case at that point.
What I'm wondering is that you folks have had evidence early on in this investigation that there was substantial evidence linking OJ Simpson to the murders. Given that you have a 72-hour window, given that you yourself are going to be argued that he's a flight risk, why not take advantage of that time frame? Why not get him while you know you can get him, knowing yourself, as you will argue, that he's a flight risk? Why? I mean, doesn't it make sense that the LAPD...
You make it too simplistic. What happens if you make the arrest and the blood comes back, it doesn't connect him? Then we're on a vendetta. Why? No, you have to...
You had information beyond...
That's not true. We don't. We don't. This has been very enjoyable. But just a minute. She hasn't asked a question. This is the last question.
Was it the blood that wrapped this whole thing up because he got positive with the blood at the scene and OJ Simpson, so you decided to arrest him?
I'm sorry. Would you ask that? I didn't understand it.
You started talking about the blood, so was it the blood that finally changed your mind today, and hey, you're going to file this thing and arrest him today?
Not change our mind. It finally gave us sufficient admissible evidence to go forward and issue the criminal complaint and get an arrest warrant.
And was
That's what we
blood
did.
that you found at the scene?
Correct.
Gil, is it true that Nicole was almost decapitated?
Thank you. I'm going to. We had it. All right, just a minute.
When he pleaded no contest to battery his wife, he was allowed to have psychiatric counseling by telephone, and he called the shots on his community service.
That was a horrible joke. It was a joke on our community, and look what happens as a result of that. Let me finish. Our criminal justice system, judges, prosecutors, police, public defenders, everyone has to understand that domestic violence cases are serious, even when someone says, this is just a domestic dispute. You know, you've been here 8 times before. You don't have to take care of it. Let me handle it. No, We're not going to let them handle it. We have to step in and we have to assist judges making sure that they know the import of these cases, that they have lives in their hands, and that if they don't treat someone with extreme professionalism and understanding as to what the dangers are of domestic violence, then you're going to wind up in cases like this. In Los Angeles, and I dare say, in every urban community throughout the country, you have too many domestic violence cases. In Los Angeles, we're filing one domestic violence homicide case every 9 days, for heaven's sakes.
So did O.J. Simpson get special treatment in that particular case? And do you believe that if he hadn't at that point, maybe things would be different right now?
It sure seems like he got special treatment. That's it.
Thank you. Several times in the past 2 months. Okay, you've been watching a live news conference from Los Angeles District Attorney Gil Garcetti. He characterized himself as very upset over O.J. Simpson's failure to turn himself in to authorities, as was agreed to between law enforcement and Mr. Simpson's attorney today. We were also following what turned out to be a false alarm outside Nicole Simpson's Brentwood, California condominium. According to Mark Watts, our reporter on the scene, Lieutenant Ron Phillips of the LAPD has confirmed that O.J. Simpson is not at that location and not involved with the incident that attracted a number of reporters and LA police. We will take a break now for your local cable carrier.